The camera in movies is an important tool. It can enhance emotions, recontextualize the subject, and overall make the shot more interesting to watch. But in Brickfilms, oftentimes it's completely ignored. More often than not, the camera is simply put into one place and not moved at all. And of course, I totally understand that. It's hard to properly set up the camera in such a small set, and even harder to get a fluent movement. My movies used to look the exact same, but at the same time, I think it's sad, because the camera can tell so much, and also, personally, I think it's a lot of fun coming up with different movements and ways to use the camera for storytelling. That's also why I'm making this video. I will give you a quick overview about camera movement in Brickfilms and different ways to achieve it. As I currently use my smartphone for filming, this video will also focus on that. There are 7 ways to achieve camera movement in Brickfilms. At least those are the categories I just invented like 42 seconds ago, so nothing official and probably incorrect. But for the purposes of this video, it will be like that. The first one is the equivalent of handheld camera in live-action movies. Obviously, you're not actually holding the camera with your hands, but you put it into some small rig and into your set. This rig doesn't have to be professional at all. I mean, look at mine. It really only needs to work, not win a beauty prize. This already gives you a wide variety of possibilities. You can do a static shot where the camera doesn't move at all, you can tilt, you can pan, you can move it around freely. It probably won't be as smooth as some other ways of movement, but that's also not always the goal, or otherwise it would be too complicated or take too long. The next method is using a tripod outside your set. It helps making your static shots more static as you don't touch it as much, and if you do, it's not as bad. And it helps making your movements more fluent. You can pan, you can tilt, you can use it as a pedestrian and do a boom shot. Or you can even do a camera roll. At least mine can do that. I don't know if that's always the case. Now we're getting to the more interesting ones. Actually, one of my favorites. Using a turntable, you can achieve an arc shot where the camera moves around the subject. At least that's how it appears. In reality, the subject is simply spinning. Turning the set on its side and letting the camera film from above, you can also achieve quite a fluent camera roll too. But to be honest, it's probably not worth the effort. There's a better way of doing that. We'll come to that later. And then there's this. I couldn't try it yet, but the result is amazing. Another great way of achieving camera movement is using a dolly, driving the camera around on rails. There are 3 types of rails in LEGO: train rails, roller coaster rails, and brick-built ones. They mainly differ in the radius of curves, but also in the height the camera gains that has to be compensated. A dolly lets you do push-ins and pull-outs, tracking and specifically trucking shots, as well as arc shots. These roller coaster parts, or simply offsetting the height of other tracks, also allow you to sneak a little boom shot in there. You'd have to stop the camera from rolling down though, otherwise you'll have a problem. Turntable introduced us to the idea of not moving the camera but the subject instead. Continuing this, the next method consists of you moving the background of your scene into one direction. You can either move your subject along or keep it in one place. This allows you to do push-ins, pull-outs, track, or do arc shots, boom shots, and even camera rolls. This procedure is especially helpful for simulating vehicle mounts, as you can simply leave the vehicle in the foreground while moving the background. To be fair, this isn't really a camera movement by itself, but if you combine it with other techniques, you can achieve incredible results by attaching parts to your camera. You can do first-person views, simulate vehicle mounts or snorri cams, where the camera is attached to an actor's body. I copied this first-person rig from some other YouTubers, so I guess if you want, you can do the same. The last way of moving the camera is digital movement. You film your shot wider than you usually would in order to zoom in post-production. This allows you to move the view without actually moving the camera on set. You can achieve tracking shots as well as boom shots and I guess dolly shots. At least I think every shot in which the camera moves horizontally is called a dolly shot. By combining a digital movement with an on-set dolly shot, the result almost looks as if you were panning, or even like an arc shot, even though it really isn't at all. And of course, digital movement also allows you to do an easy camera roll. It's probably the best way to do a camera roll overall. There's probably a lot of other ways to achieve camera movement in Brickfilms that I didn't think of. I'm also just some guy who figured out these methods either by himself or by watching other people's videos. I actually tried quite a few techniques just for this video, but it turned out cool, so I'll go on using it more in the future. Also, a few general tips. Animate your camera like a subject. What I mean is that you should ease in and out. Take more pictures at the beginning and end of a movement, so it looks more smooth and less abrupt. If you need to achieve a steady movement, I recommend you find something in the frame that doesn't move, and use that to measure how much you need to move the camera each picture. If this reference is going to go out of frame, you should find a new one early, so you don't vary the speed too much. You will soon realize that animating the camera also has the advantage that accidentally moving the camera or the set doesn't matter as much, as you will move the camera anyways. It's more important to have the camera movement fit to or enhance your story anyways. But that should be about it. You now know a lot of ways to get movement in your brick film. At least that was the plan. Please let me know if it worked, if this video was helpful, if you even understood my explanations. I don't know, maybe I've phrased it way too complicated. Or not. Oh, and tell me if I forgot something, and correct me if I made any mistakes. If you want to see these techniques in action, you can either watch my advent calendar of last year, where the parts 12 to 24 were filmed especially for this video, or you watch my newest longer film, Frog, that won the prize for Best Camera at the German Brick Film Festival Schreinerei. Or you don't. Whatever you do, I hope you have fun doing it. Bye!